All right, today we are diving into one of the most exciting and, let's be honest, logistically complicated days you can imagine: the birth of a baby through surrogacy. This isn't just about a delivery, it's the exact moment a new family is born. And making that moment go smoothly, well, that takes a very, very special kind of plan. Right off the bat, a surrogacy birth brings up all these questions that you just don't think about in a typical delivery. Who's allowed in the room? Who gets the honor of cutting the cord? And what happens if the hospital is packed and there's nowhere for everyone to sleep? These are not small details. They are high-stakes decisions that have to be locked in long before the first contraction ever hits. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. A traditional birth plan, it's mostly about one person's medical choices. Do I want an epidural or not? But a surrogacy birth plan, that is a whole different ballgame. It's more like a strategic script, a detailed roadmap that manages all the different roles, the relationships, and even the legal stuff for every single person involved. So let's get into what really makes this plan so unique. It has way less to do with specific medical choices and so much more to do with managing the human experience for everyone in that room. You can really see that shift in focus right here. A traditional plan, it's all centered on the birthing mother's experience, as it should be. But the surrogacy plan, it's a team document. Its number one job is to spell out who does what, to choreograph that all-important handoff of the baby, and to make absolutely sure that everyone's boundaries are clear and respected right from the get-go. The best way to think about it is like this. The birth plan is the bridge between the black and white legal contract and the deeply emotional human experience of childbirth. It's the tool that transforms all that legal language into a smooth, respectful, and truly joyful day for everybody: the parents, the surrogate, and her family too. So how do you manage all this without things getting complicated or contentious? Well, it all boils down to one simple core philosophy: the golden rule. And the rule is actually pretty straightforward. There's a clear line dividing the decision-making. The surrogate has complete and total autonomy over her own body, period. So any decisions about her pain management, how she wants to labor, any medical interventions, those are her calls to make, and hers alone. But the second that baby is born, full parental rights transfer to the intended parents. So decisions about vaccines, feeding, circumcision, that's their domain. That clarity is absolutely crucial. Okay, so now let's actually step inside the delivery room. This is where things like etiquette and even where you physically stand become really, really important. Really, this all comes down to fundamental respect. Typically, intended parents will stand up by the surrogate's head. This lets them be right there, offering support and encouragement while also giving her privacy and modesty. It's also key to remember that if space gets tight, her chosen support person, like her partner, gets priority. And this should go without saying, but always, always ask before you take photos. And just express gratitude. Remember, it's your baby's birthday, but it's a massive medical event for her. And then you have the moment everyone's been waiting for. It's this beautiful, choreographed sequence. First, the doctor delivers the baby. Next, a designated person gets to cut the cord. That could be one of the parents or maybe even the surrogate's partner as this amazing gesture of thanks. And finally, the handoff. As long as it's medically safe, that baby is passed directly to the intended parents so they can start that incredibly important skin-to-skin bonding. Okay, so after the baby is born, the hospital's focus kind of splits in two. They're now taking care of two separate parties. You've got Team Surrogate and Team Baby. And here's how they manage that. One really unique and I think compassionate part of this whole process is something called the closure visit. Basically, it's a pre-planned visit, usually about an hour or so, for the surrogate and her family to come and see the baby with the new parents before everyone leaves the hospital. This whole visit is for one thing: emotional closure. It gives the surrogate a chance to see the complete picture, the happy ending that she worked so hard to make happen. It's a moment to say goodbye and to see that baby safe, sound, and loved with its parents. And that can be just incredibly powerful for her and her family. But look, we all know that no birth ever goes exactly according to plan. And that's why the last and maybe the most important piece of any surrogacy birth plan is being ready for the unexpected. Your greatest asset here is going to be flexibility. So here's probably the most common logistical curveball. In a perfect world, the new parents and the baby get their own private room right after the birth. But the reality is, hospitals have to prioritize patients. And if they are full, which happens all the time, a spare boarding room just might not be an option. And of course, that leads to the #1 freakout question on every intended parent's mind. If we don't get a room, what happens to our baby? Where do they go? The answer is the hospital's secure nursery. And I know that might not sound like the ideal scenario you had in your head, but it's a totally safe, professional, and often necessary solution. Your baby is cared for 24/7 by licensed nurses under super strict security. It also means the surrogate gets the restorative sleep she desperately needs, and it helps maintain those important psychological boundaries. And of course, the parents can go to the nursery anytime they want to feed, hold, and bond with their new baby. Another huge what-if is a C-section. Operating rooms are sterile environments, and that means they usually only allow one support person inside. So who is it going to be? The surrogate's partner to support her, or an intended parent to be there when the baby is born? That is a really tough call, and it absolutely has to be talked about and decided on ahead of time. At the end of the day, a surrogacy birth plan is so much more than just a piece of paper. It's an act of preparation, of communication, and of respect. It handles all the logistics, it spells out the roles, and it plans for what-ifs. All so that when that big day finally gets here, your only job is to just be a parent.